There was a time when, and it's not too far ago, when Republicans would go on mainstream media because they know that they wouldn't get a whole lot of pushback. They would say whatever they want to, or they would do things because they knew that the mainstream media would not cover them as harsh as they are deserving of, because, they play the this side says this, the other side said this. Well, I think the mainstream media has seen that this kind of behavior draws a direct line to what we have now in America, the insurrection and those who follow QAnon and all these conspiracy theories. Not pushing back in time gives it some sort of plausibility for the feeble-minded. And guess what? I think they may be starting to do a little bit more pushing. I want you to listen to this piece, and then we'll take it on the other side. Because what's happening in Texas, it's a catastrophe. But it's not only it's a man-made catastrophe, but specifically a Republican ideological following that actually created this problem. And it is finally a time that these people are being asked to atone for it. Let's take a look at this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
On the federal level, help is happening. But on the state level, a different story. Since this all began, Texas Governor Greg Abbott's story has changed several times. The story he tells depends on the network he's speaking to, like local news stations across Texas, where he called for an investigation into the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. That council manages the state's energy flow. He called on the council's leadership to resign. But then on Fox News, the governor pointed his finger elsewhere, somehow drawing a line to connect his state's power failures on renewable energy and the Green New Deal, which is still a proposal, not a law.
This shows how the Green New Deal would be a deadly deal for the United States of America. Texas is blessed with multiple sources of energy, such as natural gas and oil and nuclear, as well as solar and wind. Our wind and our solar got shut down, and they were collectively more than 10% of our power grid.
What you just heard is a blatant mischaracterization. The president of the Electric Reliability Council of Texas says multiple energy sources failed during the storm, from wind and solar to coal and gas plants. Experts have been warning for years this type of power failure could happen, but say leaders across Texas failed to take action, leaving the state with a standalone grid highly vulnerable to extreme weather. It's a split-screen reality of what leadership can look like in a time of crisis. On one hand, you have mixed messaging from the governor and a state senator who abandons his constituents by heading to Cancun during his state's greatest hour of need, while elected officials inside and outside Texas, like Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Sylvia Garcia, Sheila Jackson-Lee, are heading in to help.
Now, what is perfect about that is normally the media would do on this side we have this, on that side we have this. But the side, what Ted Cruz did by running away, by fleeing Texas and heading to Mexico while his constituents froze and his constituents died, and he escaped. The guy who is supposed to represent the entire Texas, he left the state. And while we have a governor that assumes, he thinks his people are not very smart to say, oh, the windmills, even though the windmills overperformed based on what was expected, somehow he comes out and he looks straight into that camera and he lies to his constituents. It's the Green New Deal that's not implemented. It's using renewable energy. That is really what we need to do. He lies to his constituents. This should disqualify both Ted Cruz and Greg Abbott from ever holding office in Texas again. Their policies are responsible for the deaths of many Texans, not only with this catastrophe with the Texas Electric Grill, but also with the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act that they didn't take, that caused the deaths of thousands of Texans and the death of thousands of Texans because of their mishandling of the COVID-19 epidemic. Folks, we need good governance. And you cannot expect good governance from those people who don't believe in government. You get good governance from people who believe government works, for people who believe government is we the people, for those who believe that together we can do something, drawing wedges in between people to have them at each other's throats. Real leadership is what you saw with those three women here in Houston. AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Sylvia Garcia. They're out there working their constituents as Ted Cruz flee and Greg Abbott lies. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.